Knobcon was incredible.
Freebie. Hey everybody, real quick, I just want to pop in and say that the video, the camera did not completely focus properly, and the lighting is kind of off in this video. I was trying something new. I do have a bunch of Knobcon footage that's thrown in there to hopefully, break it up. And I also had audio problems. The microphone I was wearing simply did not record, which I didn't find out until later. I was going to reshoot it, but I really like how I organically kind of captured my thoughts here in what I did film, so I decided to keep it. I don't think the audio that bad, but I totally understand if you want to click away. But yeah, just a little disclaimer. I'm redoing the studio and working on lighting and a better audio solution, so things will continue to improve, I promise. Anyway, enjoy the video.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome to Freebeat. Today's patron shout-out goes to Alex RT. Thank you so very much for the support. If you would like to support the channel, simply head to patreon.com/freebeat or click the link in the description. Let's get started. Actually, you know what? Before we get started, get your Knobcon jokes in right now, okay? Get it out of your system. You good? All right, let's move on. So a few months ago, some of my patrons surprised me with a GoFundMe page to send me to Knobcon. I've talked about it so much, but the act of them doing that just completely blows my mind. If I were to go off script, I'd spend the next 20 minutes just thanking them. So I'm just going to say it once. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. Now, if you don't know what Knobcon is, it's basically an electronic music convention that kind of leans towards the modular side of things, but nevertheless, it's just an electronic music convention. It takes place in a hotel just outside of Chicago, Illinois, and it happens every year. I can't remember which one this is, but it was my first Knobcon. I absolutely cannot stand flying. It just scares the hell out of me, and I avoid it whenever possible. So I immediately started planning an epic road trip from Oregon to Illinois. Now, unfortunately, my wife started her new job and started school the week of the convention, the week we were going to leave. So I couldn't bring her, but she did not want me to go alone. So she suggested that I take her little sister with me, which was fine with me because my sister-in-law and I are very, very close. She's my best friend, aside from my wife. And she, very quickly agreed to come. She had a little bit of music experience from high school. So yeah, she agreed to go. And on September 5th at 5 o'clock in the morning, her and I set out on one hell of a road trip. And then 10 minutes in, we realized we forgot all the snacks. So we turned around, came back home, grabbed the snacks, and then left for real. The road trip itself was pretty fantastic. The chance to see states that neither of us had been to before was awesome. Everything went super smooth. Well, except for, I think we were in Wyoming maybe. We heard a loud bang. And, well, I filmed it.
Oh my God.
Elevation and pressure changes are crazy. Yeah, that chip bag just exploded open.
Day one was so rough. My neighbors back home, me and Lady Freebeat's upstairs neighbors, were so loud. She wound up writing like this huge email and complained. But yeah, I got like 4 hours of sleep. Her sister didn't get much sleep either, and then her and I drove 12 hours yesterday, and I actually wound up driving all of it behind the wheel. So we got into the hotel last night and just absolutely crashed. We hit the pool and the hot tub for like 20 minutes, and then it was lights out. Slept 7.5 hours straight. That's the best sleep I've gotten in, I don't know, a very long time. And it's like 6:15 a.m. right now. Breakfast at the hotel opens at 6:30, and then we're on the road to Kearney, Nebraska. So yeah, going good. Day 3, morning 3, heading to Trickman Terry's today. A short little 10-hour drive. Yesterday was 11, the day before that was 12, so they keep getting easier. And then they're gonna get harder again once we come home. But yeah, feeling good. Slept for like 9 hours last night. Feeling good, ready to drive.
So after 3 days on the road, we finally arrived at Trickman Terry's house. A huge shout out and thank you to Trickman Terry and his wife for not only hosting us Thursday night as well as Monday night the next week, and giving us each our own room to sleep in after, having to share a couple nights in hotels. We each got our own room, which was amazing. But also for hosting 2 different Freebeat patron gatherings, essentially, and feeding us at both of those gatherings, both Friday in the middle of the day and then Sunday at night. Incredibly gracious of them to open their home to not only myself and my sister-in-law, but to all of the Freebeat patrons. So again, thank you so much to you too.
Okay, so we have made it to Trickman Terry's, and look at this place. This is just the basement. This is the couch I slept on last night, which was actually super comfy. And I don't have the lights on right now, but this is just a preview of what's to come Sunday night when we have a bit of a party here, I think. But today, we're in Trickman Terry's living room for a patron jam. People are going to be showing up in just a couple hours. We're going to be live streaming it, I think, to the patrons and everyone in the Discord that's not here. And it should be a good time.
Friday, we woke up and immediately began preparing for that Freebeat patron gathering, number 1 at Terry's house. Getting to meet everyone in a relaxed setting like that, rather than in the craziness of the convention hotel, was definitely the way to do it. I didn't have any anxiety or anything going into it. I was just excited to meet people because it was kind of a setting that, we had control over, which was nice. Everyone was just so kind and gracious, and it was great, finally being able to shake hands and give hugs and put faces to names to some of these people I've been talking to for 3-4 years. It was really great. And then we all tried to jam together in Terry's living room. We had set aside 4-ish hours, I think, from about noon to 4 or so for this gathering, lunch, meet and greet, and jam. And I'm really glad that we set aside 4 hours, because the first 3 hours of that was spent trying to sync everybody's gear up. We all know how much I love that. I mean, we had an access point. Actually, I did get it working, I think, with Ableton Link. We had multiple dedicated MIDI clocks and even more gear that was just way over my head. So after a while, Trickman Terry actually got us started simply on his Roland S1. He just hit play on the sequencer and leaned into a couple of us and just said, "Hey, I'm at 70 BPM." And from there, things kind of took off. I was finger drumming on the sample track. I also did some sequencing on the sample track, and I would just press the play button in time. I did some live playing on the PO128 Mega Man as well. We had, there was a 1010 Lemon Drop there. There was an Akai Force. There was a West Pest. I'm sure there was more. I think there was a Microcosm providing reverb to someone, maybe the Lemon Drop, the Nano Drop. I'm sure there's more I'm missing, but we did stream it live for patrons, and I'll show you a clip of that right now. So this was my first time live jamming with others in electronic music. I mean, obviously I've been a drummer and a musician for a long time, so jamming isn't new to me, but in electronic music, this was very new to me. It wasn't that different than jamming with traditional instruments. I thought it would be way different, but no. It really wasn't that different. And maybe that's just because we weren't technically synced up, so it was a lot of live playing, but yeah, I was pretty comfortable with it after just a minute or two, and it was a lot of fun. I really, really enjoyed it. Even though I just met everyone in person, it really did feel like a room of friends getting together to just play some music live, which was really cool to experience. So after the jam, we packed up everything, which took a while because there was a lot of gear, and then we made our way to the hotel. And after a few surprisingly rickety elevator rides, my sister-in-law and I were unpacked and ready to start the convention, which didn't start until that evening. And so we wound up going out to Chicago Deep Dish Pizza with Trickman Terry, ND Guardian, Grove Twig, and then the two of us. And it was pretty good. I've never had actual deep dish pizza before. I'm not going to say it's better than, like thin crust pizza, but I think they're too different to compare. Honestly, I don't really want to upset either camp there, but yeah, I really did enjoy it. It was super good. So then we got back to the hotel and we headed to the live performance kickoff for the convention. This was my first time ever seeing electronic music performed live, which was pretty mind-blowing. We walked in about 5 minutes, I think, or so into, is it Tamix, into her set with her Buchla rig and everything, and that was insane to watch live. That was my first time seeing Modular performed live, too, so the first electronic music performance I saw was Modular, and then for it to be her was just like... Like, her mastery over her rig and her setup is crazy. Very, very inspiring. When those drums first kicked in, that was heavy. Everyone was dancing. That was so cool to experience. I'm really glad we made it back for her set. It's definitely got me thinking more about how I want to play live. I want to do maybe some more performance elements rather than just firing a backing track and playing drums over it, for sure. So the live performances ended around 11, and then it was time for bed. Except it wasn't, because around midnight the fire alarm at the hotel went off, and we all had to evacuate the hotel, which was fun. It was a false alarm, by the way. Also, to the person who recognized me in the emergency exit stairwell, I'm very sorry for how awkward I was. I was very tired. I was having a hard time keeping my eyes open. Yeah, sorry. But thank you.
Welcome to Knobcon.
So Saturday morning, I woke up, had some coffee, played with a Dirty Wave M8 that one of my patrons actually let me borrow for the time that we were at the hotel, which was really nice. Just definitely reinforced my decision that yes, that's an instrument I'm going to enjoy. Yeah, and then it was time for the actual show proper to begin, the convention itself. So the show floor was overwhelming, to say the least. There were so many people all passionate about the same thing in one moderately sized ballroom. It was unlike anything I'd ever experienced before. The energy was super infectious. I had a smile from ear to ear basically the whole time. It was hard to stop smiling. I got to meet my Polyend rep, Mitch, who was super cool in person. We've been emailing for months, so it was really nice to finally meet him. We talked, the Tracker Mini. We talked about the Polyend Play. He actually sent me home with a Polyend Play, so thank you, Mitch, for the Polyend Play. I'm really enjoying it. Video content on that soon, I'm sure. I've got so many videos to make. God.
I didn't know that we didn't have to put our real names on our name tags, so I did. And then I covered it up with a Freebeat sticker. We just got done kind of exploring the main room for a bit, and I'm very overwhelmed. There's a lot of very knowledgeable people and a ton of gear I've never heard of or seen that is all super, super cool. I got to meet my Polyend rep, who was really, really nice. Nice to meet him in person after emailing for several months, and yeah, just a lot going on.
But one thing I really appreciated as we explored the show floor was I would see reps from other brands checking out other companies' gear and getting excited about it. It didn't feel like anyone was there to work. It felt like we were all excited, even the brand reps themselves. Which was really neat to see. I can't even begin to remember everything that I saw. I learned a lot about modular and just about synthesis in general. I was very surprised how many people were willing to just take some time to explain to me, basic concepts that had gone over my head until then. So thank you to everybody who spent the time to talk to me like I'm 5 years old, because that's what this dumb drummer needs when it comes to some of this stuff. Also, I have a note here. It says, quick side note. On this trip, I was able to cross off 2 fast food locations I've always wanted to try, Raising Cane's and Shake Shack. Raising Cane's we had in Nebraska on day 2 of our drive, and it was pretty fantastic, actually. I really enjoyed it. Shake Shack was super overpriced and not very good, I didn't think. Sorry if I am upsetting any of you out there. But yeah, it was like $25 for the 2 of us to get food, and It was like 6 little chicken nuggets, and I got a sandwich, and that was a burger, I think. I can't remember. Yeah, it didn't seem very good. Okay, so speaking of food, Saturday night was the Banquet, which is was a separate ticketed event, different than just the standard admission for Knobcon. Again, shout out to my patrons who got the GoFundMe high enough to actually get me a ticket to the Banquet. It was really, really cool. The food was actually pretty decent, which that kind of seemed to blow people's mind. I don't know if it's been bad in the past, but I quite enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty good. There was also a little jazz combo playing, and they just played some standards, which was a nice break from the, the heaviness of all the electronic music we'd been listening to. But the real draw of the Banquet was the guest speaker, Doug McKechnie. Now, if you don't know his story, I really suggest you look it up, because there is so much that everyone in the electronic music space has to thank him for. It was pretty cool to hear him talk. And then we had some closing words from the Knobcon curator, Suit and Tie Guy, which were very, very nice. And that concluded the Banquet and Saturday. Then I went back to the hotel room, and my sister-in-law and I decided to throw a raging party. And, well, look how crazy things got. So Sunday was the second and final day of the convention. After a slow start that morning, we once again hit the show floor. And this was kind of my work day, with more of a focus on making connections and, actually meeting people and introducing, the channel to them. No matter what, every time I went to talk to somebody, I felt this feeling of that I shouldn't be here, I don't belong here, my channel is inadequate. It was really hard to get over. I did push through it, and I'm so glad I did, because I made many different contacts. But imposter syndrome was very real for me that day. I'm just so glad that I kept pushing and made it through it. It was definitely difficult. I really struggle with imposter syndrome, especially in this space. I'm very proud of myself, actually, that I was able to push through and make some contacts. Oh yeah, I also bought something. I bought a piece of gear. It's not gonna focus, is it? Whatever. The Bastel Castle drum. The Bastel booth was selling these, or selling all their products at a bit of a discount, and I've wanted one of these for a long time, so I scooped it up, and I'm really liking it. It's a lot of fun. One regret that I have is not attending any of the talks or the workshops. I was already just so overwhelmed and overstimulated that the thought of adding something else to my schedule for the day, or either of the days, it was just too much for me, I think, at the time. Pretty intimidating. But next year, now that I kind of know what to expect in terms of the convention as a whole, I'll definitely attend at least one of them. They're included with the price of admission, so there's really no reason not to. And that kind of wrapped up the convention part of the trip. It was over really before it began. It felt like it went by just like that. So after the convention Sunday night, myself and several of the other patrons went back to Trickman Terry's for our kind of closing party. Now, Terry has converted his basement into a full-blown arcade, and everyone had such a good time. They brought in catered food, which was delicious. We played pinball. I got to play Dig Dug on a Dig Dug machine like crazy. It was just a blast. It was so much fun. I threw together, before we left actually, I prepared a tiny little Freebeat live set, and I was able to actually give all of them like an actual in-person Freebeat performance too, which was really fun. That was the first time my sister-in-law had ever gotten to see me play the drums, which is silly because I was just hitting this tiny little Roland pad. But that was a lot of fun. And again, thank you, Terry, for your hospitality. So at the end of that night, we did say a couple goodbyes, and then some of us drove back to the hotel for one more night of chatting and jamming. One of my patrons did not have a hotel room for that night, and he had a flight that left super, super early in the morning, so we all just stayed up in our hotel room, like talking music and playing music, and it was a lot of fun. I may have fallen asleep early. I do apologize, because when I woke up, he was gone. It was a really fun night. Monday morning, we woke up, checked out of the hotel room, said a few more goodbyes, And then we went to a mall for lunch where at a GameStop I was actually able to find some of Disney's Lorcana trading cards, which have been sold out everywhere. My wife was ecstatic when I came home with those. So shout out to the GameStop employee there at the mall across the street. You were awesome. Yeah, thanks for the heads up. After lunch, the two of us headed back to Terry's for kind of a cool down day before the drive home. This was really the first day I had to kind of decompress and just take it all in. You know, what I had just experienced, and the day was definitely much needed. I don't think I put socks on the whole day, which was definitely nice. And it was fun to just kind of hang out with Terry in his studio and play with some gear that I'd had questions about and just hang out and have a good time. Then Tuesday morning, we woke up refreshed, said one final goodbye to Terry and his wife, and we hit the road. The drive back was pretty uneventful. We definitely took it a lot more casual pace-wise than we did on the way there. We stopped at a bunch of rest stops, including this one in Wyoming that had this giant Abraham Lincoln statue and this really gorgeous scenic overlook inside a building. There was a glass overhang, and they had a little, almost like a miniature theater playing a movie, a documentary about the Lincoln Highway. Super cool. Yeah, we don't have any kind of rest stops like that here in Oregon. I also took my sister-in-law to Shoshone Falls in Twin Falls, Idaho, where my wife and I stopped on our big road trip last year. Although they were super dried up, it was nowhere near as impressive as it was last year, which was a bit of a bummer because it's only about a month and a half earlier than when I went last year. So speaking of my sister-in-law, I would just like to thank everybody who was so kind to her and made her feel welcome on the trip. Well, with the exception of some random teenagers at the kickoff concert who approached her outside and asked her to go try hot sauce with them in their car. What? Yeah, she had a great time. She learned a lot, and she is definitely getting more and more into electronic music now, both listening and creating, so that's super cool. The two of us have already decided that this is just going to be a yearly trip for us. So I'm really excited to have that with her. And again, thank you to everybody who was so nice to her. Also, thank you to everybody who came up to me and said hi at the convention. I know 27,000 subscribers might seem like a lot, but I promise I was not expecting to be recognized really at all. So that was really bizarre for me to experience. The first few times it happened, I'm sure I was really, really awkward, and I apologize for that. Luckily, Bo Beats gave me some advice just over Instagram, and things got better from then on. But yeah, crazy. That blew my mind. I was not expecting that at all. But I really do appreciate it. Thank you. I also met Gaz Rendar, who might be my favorite YouTube content creator. He does those papercraft pocket operator videos. Yeah, that was really, really cool. He came up to me and was all happy to meet me, and I turned around and I was like, oh my god, I was a bit starstruck. Yeah, that was really fun, really exciting. And I'm sure there's so much I left out of this video. There was just simply too much going on for me to remember everything. I guess long story short would be the trip itself was amazing. I met some incredible people. I'm inspired as hell, and I can't wait to go back next year. I'll also say that it was pretty damn hard to say goodbye to my patrons. And we had to kind of do it, staggered because everybody left at different times. Everybody had different flights or had different, driving schedules they had to keep. But the fact that I was there with them in Illinois on their dime was not lost on me at all. I said this in a behind-the-scenes patron vlog a couple days ago on Tuesday, but this trip may have really saved the channel. It reignited a fire in me that I needed a kick in the ass. I needed to get going again, and oh man, this trip really did it. So thank you again. I know I said I wasn't going to say it, but thank you, patrons. Thank you for this. It was incredible. So I do believe that brings us to the end of this video. Just like I do hope that you found this video nice, informative, or entertaining. You didn't find this informative. Entertaining. If you did, be sure to leave a like on it. If not, you can always leave a dislike. That's okay too. Doesn't hurt my feelings. Just makes me try that much harder next time. Either way, be sure to hit that subscribe button, ring that notification bell. This does not work very well in person, does it? Or like this in my face. Yeah. Thanks so much for being here. Thanks for watching. Thanks again, patrons. We'll see you next time, everybody. Bye.